About 60% of US adults have used ChatGPT or a similar AI chatbot for advice or information, according to a recent national survey. Artificial intelligence has arrived and it's influencing the way most people are seeking guidance and even how they seek coaching, which is leading some coaches to lose clients to AI. So let's unpack this trend and learn if your business is being affected by AI and how you can stop it so you can keep working with the people you are meant to serve. Hi, and welcome to the Jeff Newton Show, helping coaches with their thought leadership and to establish a powerful brand that attracts dream clients and makes a bigger impact in the world. And today we're talking about why some coaches are losing clients to AI and how to stop it. So as more and more people use AI, more and more people are realizing they can turn to AI for advice. But as a coach or healer, part of your job might be to give advice or to help people process things emotionally or to track their habits. And these are all things that ChatGPT and other similar AI models can do, which means our understanding has to evolve of what we do, how we help others, and how we communicate that so that we can work with this AI trend instead of against it. So today we're going to cover 3 mistakes that coaches and healers are making that lead to them losing business to AI, and 3 adjustments you can make to keep your business and even grow during this AI revolution. Mistake number 1 is sharing too much tip-based content, too much advice, too much general information on social media. It's something that's becoming a commodity. A commodity means your audience sees it as interchangeable. So if you're giving advice that other coaches and healers are giving, and ChatGPT now and other AI models are pumping out the same advice without any thought at all, you're in a sea of sameness. You're just blending in. And that's not a good thing because your content is actually the beginning of your client journey, your customer journey. Your customer journey doesn't start with the first thing people buy from you. That's not where they start evaluating how good you are at helping them a long way and whether they're going to stay with you or not, or buy again, or refer you to others. It's actually your content. So when your content is out there with tips, with advice, with something that ChatGPT could make or other people can easily make, your ideal clients, the people you really want to work with, will see that content and just keep scrolling. They're not going to see you as the answer to their problem. The audience out there is struggling with content fatigue. So people on social media are saying the same thing. They're seeing the same thing again and again and again. There's so much noise that they're spending less time per post and scrolling faster than ever. And on top of that, because of all the ChatGPT generated content, it's all starting to blend in and sound the same. So it gives people content deja vu. And they start to feel like, I've heard this all before. These are the same 3 tips. This is the same advice. So you don't want to sound like everyone. You don't want to just have these tips and that advice. That's mistake number 1. What you should be doing is tapping into your unique perspective, generating content that comes from your lived experience. Yes, tips and advice are still important. And when you share it, you can share it in your own words rather than ChatGPT's or some other AI. If you can put your own words to it and it carries the wisdom of your story, carries the wisdom of your clients' stories, your clients' wins, if it shares some of your values, if it holds a conversation, a bigger conversation than only tips and tricks, that will get you noticed by your ideal audience. So as a practical example, let's imagine that you're a coach that helps people with their burnout. Maybe you've gone through burnout and you want to make sure other people don't go through the same thing. So tips-based content would just be 7 tips to prevent burnout. Now, that's the kind of thing that a lot of people make and ChatGPT can make for you in seconds. But it's also the kind of thing that might get quickly ignored by anyone who is already seeing lots of burnout tips in their feed. But if I make a post or reel about the 3 warning signs I wish I hadn't ignored before I burnt out, lost my job, and had to spend a week in the hospital, that's a more interesting story. Yes, that is more dramatic, and it doesn't have to be that dramatic, but that would stand out because it's not just 7 tips, it's tapping into you. And that's what people are getting hungry for, real connection. So make sure you're not only sharing tips and advice and things that ChatGPT and everyone else can easily produce now. Share something from your personal journey and your personal experience because that is the connection that people are hungry for and it's what is going to make you stand out. Mistake number 2 is positioning yourself as someone who gives advice or information, someone who provides a basic modality like coaching or holding space for emotional processing. That is going to be less and less in demand over time because more people are turning to ChatGPT and AI to help process their thoughts, their emotions, to get general advice, to get productivity planning. So if you're just positioning yourself as someone who knows stuff and can help other people know stuff, you are going to have a hard time adjusting to this AI world where information now isn't scarce. Information isn't a premium anymore. Information is everywhere. People have too much of it. And what they want instead is to connect with someone they know can get them from point A to point B without the overwhelm. This means you have to be very clear about the specific results that you get people. What is their point A where they are not happy where they're at, where they want to be somewhere else? And what is that somewhere else? What's that point B? Make sure you're speaking to that and that your programs and your offerings are positioned. In other words, you talk about them in a way where you're not just talking about, I'm going to give you information, or I'm going to give you advice, or I'm going to give you coaching, because people can get advice, information, and coaching from their AI. But you can speak to the result you want to help people get, because when people bump into the limits of using AI, they're going to say, I tried on my own. I've got most of the information, but now I really want someone that gets me to take me on a journey to point B, to this result. If you can position yourself as a trustworthy comrade on the journey, someone that is a real human that wants to take them where they want to go, you can name that clearly, people are going to still follow you, even if they take a slower time because they were starting with AI. And again, not everybody is turning to AI for their coaching, but some people will. And those people won't always succeed at what they're trying to do. They might experiment with AI for a while, but then they'll look for a solution. And you want to stand out as a solution that's different than AI. So you're not going to compete with AI and say, I have information. You're going to tell them you can help them get where they want to go in a way that matches their values and in a way that they see themselves in you. They see themselves in your story, in your journey. For some of us, this is going to be hard work because we might have been able to hide behind our modality, like I'm a coach or I'm a body worker. But now we're being asked to be more specific about what we do and the results we bring. And if you haven't done that work yet, now's the time to do it. So for me, for example, I know more and more people are using AI to help with their business coaching. In other words, to help with their copywriting, to help with their marketing. But I also know the limits that people are going to encounter when they do that. The content is going to sound the same. There's going to be limits in terms of when you're talking to artificial intelligence, your input into that system is going to determine the quality of the output. So over time, people have told me, hey, Jeff, the answers you're getting out of AI, I never think to use it like that. You're getting way better answers than I get. And I've gotten to see that it matters who is asking the questions and the type of questions they're asking. So I know that my work is different than when someone is self-coaching on their business and on their copywriting with AI. But I need to communicate that. I need to position my service as more than copywriting. I wouldn't just say, I'm a business coach, or I give you information, or I can give you some advice on your copywriting, because that sounds a lot like what you can get for free. So my positioning is transforming into the leadership angle, into you've got a problem, you've got a result, you want to stand out, you want more clients, you don't want to blend in, and you want to reach the people who really are made for that specific change you want to give. And you know that AI isn't communicating that for you. You know that hiding behind your modality or the thing you do isn't communicating that to people. You know tips and advice and those kind of things are a bit bland, a bit boring, and that people aren't building that real connection and trust with you. So how can they get your help if they can't find you or connect with you? But if you start showing up as the version of you who's loud, proud, clear, who's a leader, who's sending out that beacon that people can hear over the noise of everybody on the ChatGPT or AI level, that is where your clients are, and that's where your fulfillment is. And that's what I help people do, and that's what I stand for. So That's a little illustration of the difference between positioning myself as someone who gives information that you could get at home with your AI versus someone who's going to do something more, stand for more, have a more human journey, a more complete journey that leads you to wholeness and to more of the life you really want. This positioning of what you do as not just being the information or the modality, but who you are, what you stand for, the movement from point A to point B, the journey to human, this change of positioning is also what's going to level up your pricing. Because as soon as you're perceived as a commodity, it actually lowers your value. Your audience starts to see you as interchangeable with everyone else. And we don't want that because it isn't even true. Who you are matters in your work so much because you're made for specific people. So don't reduce what you do to the label, I'm a coach or I'm a body worker or whatever. And don't reduce it to the kind of knowledge or information people will get. You're much more than that. Because when people do think that you're just interchangeable with others, all of a sudden the uniqueness drops away and you start to become this resource that there's plenty of competition, there's plenty of supply, and people start to shop on price, on convenience, on these surface level features that you don't want to compete on, because at the end of the day, you'll just work harder and harder to stand out and get less and less and less for your efforts. So if you've been positioning yourself as someone who gives advice, who gives information, or even as someone who holds space for emotional processing, just know that those are things that more and more people will start experimenting with AI to see if they can do it that way for much less money. So evolve your message, evolve what you're here for so it speaks to the greater journey that you believe in and want to take people on. That's what you need to do. Elevate your positioning, elevate your personal brand, elevate your thought leadership, and people will continue to follow and buy from you through this AI revolution. Mistake number 3 is if you are using ChatGPT to write your posts, you are in trouble because everyone's posts are going to sound the same. So this goes back to point number 1, tips, tricks, generic advice. But now this isn't just about what you share and how you position yourself that blends in. This is literally with letting ChatGPT do that for you is going to instantly make you blend into everyone else, and then less people are going to follow you because of that content fatigue we mentioned, because of that content deja vu we talked about earlier, where people think, I just saw this. I saw this in 10 different ways from 10 different coaches. I guess they're all offering the same thing. And so your value goes down. You become forgettable. You get merged into this sea of overwhelm and sameness, and people are looking for something human to follow. So what I want you to do in order to stand out is to start sharing more of your personal stories. Share more of why you do what you do. What got you involved in the first place? Why do you care about helping the people you want to help? And how is it you help them get where they want to go? Think of ways you can help them get where they want to go, which might include tips and tricks. And like we said, you can share from your personal experience, from client experiences, any insights you have to make it more relatable and stand out compared to AI-generated content. But you really need to embrace this journey of getting to know at a deeper level what you're here for, what you stand for, your own words. Get used to that discomfort and to translating it, putting it into words, and get the help you need if you need help on that journey, because it can make all the difference between you being visible and being seen and known by your ideal audience. And by the way, using AI is totally fine. I use it every day in my coaching sessions. I use it when I'm creating content, but I don't use it for the first idea or even the first draft. What I do is I come up with my own ideas and I capture them, right, in a document, all kinds of places actually. And when it's time to write, I start connecting to my ideal clients, usually intuitively. I start remembering who they are, what they struggle with. And if I don't already have content planned, I'll start to come up with ideas. I'll start brainstorming, and I'll take that idea that I'm brainstorming that day or that I carried over from another day that I drafted on another day, and I'll start writing it out and get ChatGPT to be like a partner that is reflecting back to me. You could say something like this, and I say, yeah, that sounds cheesy, but I like that part, and I'll say something like this, and I get the final edit. So it's involved in the process, but it's not generating the ideas. I don't say, tell me what to say. It's that I'm saying, we're going to say something like this. And it's working back and forth with me to save me time of going through it alone. And it really is a good time saver, and it's a good creative partner or brainstorming partner in that sense. But you have to understand, ChatGPT is literally getting its answers from billions of examples coming from everyone else. And it tries to predict the right next word, as in the most likely next word, not the most original, not the most creative, not even the most accurate next word, the most likely next word. In other words, it's not creative. It is inherently designed to bring everything down to this average, this safe average. And that's what makes it polished, and that's what makes it clear in a way. Like, it's easy to understand ChatGPT writing, but it's also what makes it boring and everyone sound the same, and quickly people are disengaging from that kind of content. So let your creativity lead. Don't lose that skill. Use that muscle of creativity and you'll start to stand out. As some closing thoughts here, I just wanted to share with you, it's also going to be more and more important to share your face. AI models, ChatGPT, right now it can produce art, it can produce words, it can even produce video avatars, and that AI is getting scary realistic. But showing yourself is going to be really important for people to start to build trust with your brand. If you just keep putting words out there but not showing your face, more and more people are going to start wondering, is this just another AI account that's putting out words and has no personality? And they won't be doing it consciously, but it's just going to be unconsciously ingrained that there's so much information out there, because it's more vulnerable for most people to put their face and themselves out there and to speak out loud. But when you do that, the way I'm doing now, for example, you know that I'm not reading off of a ChatGPT prompt. I'm speaking to you in the moment. And then if I do write and use ChatGPT and my opinions match up with the person I am, you know it's me saying it. It won't get washed away in that sea of sameness because you've connected to me here. People need to follow you. They need to feel you. They need to feel your energy. They need to see your face. And you can add that to the other tips we have here. People need to see your face. They're going to need to hear your story, understand your journey and what you stand for and your takes and your opinions and your beliefs, in addition to that tip-based content if you're giving it. But that's not the only thing you're going to provide, and that is not how you're going to position yourself as someone who can give information or some general advice. Get more specific about that change and that journey that you're taking others on, and get the help you need to get that clarity if you don't have it. That is how you're going to get through this AI revolution without losing all your clients to AI. And in fact, you'll be able to use it like a surfer uses a wave, not to get splashed on and thrown back, but actually to end up on top of the wave, right? You can catch this wave of the AI revolution to stand out while other people are getting lost in that sea of sameness. And standing out isn't just important for getting more sales, more clients, more money. Yes, we love that. But also it's important so that you're making more and more of a difference with the people who need your impact. So thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope that this gave you some options and a fresh perspective on how you can continue to grow your impact and your results. I look forward to seeing you again and continuing the journey in our next episode. Bye for now. If you've been feeling the call to show up at your next level, to show up in a bigger way, but it feels a little out of reach, either you're blending in or you're doubting your voice or you're not sure what it means, what it looks like to show up at your next level. That is exactly what we go to work on in the Magnetic Leader. This is where we're going to evolve and amplify your leadership vision and voice and bring it out in your most powerful self-expression so that you can grow the audience that you're actually made for, serve more people, and make the impact you know you're here to make. Early bird pricing ends August 24th, so if you know you're meant for this next level of impact, of visibility, of leadership, go to jeffnewtoncoaching.com/leader to get details and to get started. That's jeffnewtoncoaching.com/leader.